In the world of professional wrestling, where bright lights shine and roaring crowds echo, there exists a special breed of competitors who transcend human limits, the monsters that leave audiences both awestruck and intimidated. These titans don't just possess massive size and devastating strength, they embody absolute dominance inside the ring. From unstoppable giants to unpredictable berserkers, and even living nightmares, they've given us some of the most unforgettable moments in WWE history. Let's dive into the 15 greatest monsters of all time. Bam Bigelow, the Beast from the East. Bam Bigelow had a look that could make anyone wary at first sight. His fiery ring gear and nearly bald head covered with flame tattoos made him instantly recognizable, a style he wore decades before it became a trend. With a menacing face and crooked teeth, Bigelow looked like someone ready to smash through anyone in his path. What truly set Bam apart was that he didn't rely solely on his massive size to dominate. Standing 6 feet 4 inches and weighing nearly 400 pounds, he had surprising speed and agility for a heavyweight. Bigelow regularly stunned fans with moonsaults and aerial maneuvers that few could imagine a man his size pulling off. Thanks to this rare combination, he became a beloved babyface during his early WWF run. In the early 90s, when he moved to New Japan Pro Wrestling, Bam fully embraced his monster persona. Teaming with Vader, he formed a destructive duo that struck fear into opponents. While their greatest achievement there was capturing the IWGP Tag Team Championship, their impact on Japanese wrestling history was undeniable. Upon returning to the WWF, Bigelow transformed into a fierce and intimidating heel. His peak moment came at WrestleMania 11, headlining against NFL superstar Lawrence Taylor, an event that grabbed attention far beyond the wrestling world. Bigelow's next chapter in ECW saw him unleash an even more brutal style, tossing opponents through tables, guardrails, and anything else in his way. Later in WCW, despite its hardcore division never reaching the same acclaim as ECW's, he remained one of its standout stars, respected for his resilience and unique presence. Bam Bigelow was more than just a physical beast. He was living proof that strength, agility, and rare skill could merge into one unforgettable figure in professional wrestling history. Sid Vicious, WWE's cold-blooded destroyer. Sid Vicious was more than just a wrestler, he was the embodiment of ruthless power wrapped in an unsettling calm. Standing over 6 feet 8 inches, with his signature wild blonde hair and an icy gaze that could cut through any opponent, Sid entered the ring with the presence of a ruler who knew he was the biggest threat in the building. No flash, no noise, just one look was enough to let everyone know they were staring at a living nightmare. From his earliest days in the WWF, Sid was presented as a monster capable of threatening any champion. His blend of raw strength and straightforward offense made him an overwhelming force. Every powerbomb he delivered wasn't just a finishing move, it was a cold, definitive statement. The match was over, and his opponent had just been crushed by pure might. Sid wasn't limited to playing the heel. He was also built up as a commanding babyface at times, making him unique among monsters. Whether fan favorite or villain, Sid was always the centerpiece. Matches against Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and Diesel weren't just title bouts, they were showcases of a giant who knew how to own the spotlight. What truly set Sid apart was his aura. He didn't need to speak much or show over-the-top emotion. Every gesture and step he took carried an immense psychological weight. He was like a predator who knew he was always in control, waiting for the perfect moment to strike with a lethal bite. Though his WWE career was often interrupted by injuries or outside issues, his appearances were unforgettable. Winning the WWF Championship twice and headlining major events like WrestleMania cemented his status as one of wrestling's most fearsome figures. Sid Vicious wasn't just powerful. He was the perfect storm of size, dominance, and presence, making any opponent think twice before stepping into the ring with him. Bull Nakano, the blue-haired beast. If men's wrestling had monsters that inspired fear, Bull Nakano was the female counterpart who demanded respect the moment she appeared. Looking like she had stepped straight out of an action anime, Nakano made a striking impression with her towering blue hair, lightning bolt face paint, and piercing eyes that seemed to stab right through her opponents. She was the image of an unrelenting challenger, ready to crush any unlucky babyface standing in her way. In the United States, Nakano was best known for her runs in WWF and WCW, but her legacy extended far beyond. During the WWF's New Generation era, she was a force to be reckoned with, especially in her legendary series of matches against Alundra Blaze. These battles weren't just some of the best women's matches of the time in America. They were considered a new standard for women's wrestling, at least outside of Japan, where her matches were traded among hardcore fans on bootleg tapes. Though only about 5 feet 7 inches, Nakano's imposing frame at over 200 pounds, along with her gravity-defying hair, made her look like a boss character straight out of Street Fighter. Every time she stepped into the ring, her eyes burned with such intensity they looked ready to pop out, carrying an energy so intimidating that opponents instinctively searched for an escape route. Her power wasn't just in her image. Nakano wrestled with heavy-hitting strikes, relentless pace, and expert ring control. Opponents were often overwhelmed by her constant, suffocating offense, leaving them with no chance to recover. After 14 years in the business, a string of injuries forced Nakano to retire in 1997 at just 29 years old. Rather than staying in wrestling, she made the surprising choice to pursue a career in professional golf, a complete contrast to her fearsome in-ring persona. Still, her legacy endures as one of the most powerful and intimidating figures in women's wrestling history. Abyss, the monster of TNA. If you took the madness of Mankind, the horror of Slipknot, and the raw power of a bloodthirsty bear, fused them into a single wrecking machine, and handed it a plank of wood studded with nails, the result would be Abyss. Nicknamed the Monster, Abyss debuted in TNA in 2003 and immediately became a terrifying presence for anyone who stepped into the ring with him. From day one, Abyss stood out as one of TNA's biggest attractions, a young promotion at the time, but one that had struck gold with his crowd-drawing force. Every time he appeared, fans braced themselves for a violent spectacle of broken tables, steel chairs, and nail-covered boards. His hardcore matches weren't just destructive, they carried an eerie, unsettling edge that made it impossible to look away. Abyss deepened his character by introducing a split personality. Outside of the brutal monster persona, he also portrayed Joseph Park, a kind, bumbling attorney who was the complete opposite of his sadistic alter ego. This contrast made his storylines unique and gave his character long-lasting appeal. Throughout his TNA career, whether as Abyss or Joseph Park, he left a permanent mark. He defeated major names like AJ Styles, Sting, and Kurt Angle, became both a Triple Crown champion and Grand Slam champion, and earned induction into the TNA Hall of Fame. These achievements solidified his role as a cornerstone of the company's success. After 17 years behind the mask and wielding Janus, his infamous nail-studded plank, Abyss made an unexpected change. He shed the monster image, put on a dress shirt and tie, and joined WWE as a backstage producer. While no longer wrestling, the image of the monster endures in fans' minds as a symbol of uniquely brutal hardcore wrestling. The Great Khali, WWE's living mountain. Standing 7 feet 1 inch and weighing over 340 pounds, the Great Khali entered WWE like a moving skyscraper, instantly making anyone across the ring feel small. From his very first appearance, he made a chilling impact by dismantling The Undertaker in just minutes, one of the most dominant debuts in company history. With his towering frame, pillar-like arms, and heavy, deliberate stride, Khali embodied fear itself, a mountain few dared to climb. His style fit the mold of the classic monster heel, few moves, but each delivered with crushing force. His devastating Khali chop came crashing down on an opponent's skull like it could shatter bone, while his vice grip crushed even the toughest challengers to their knees. In just a handful of strikes, he could turn a competitive bout into a swift execution. Khali's career peak came in 2007 when he captured the World Heavyweight Championship by defeating both Batista and Kane in a triple threat match. That title win was more than just a personal achievement. It was WWE's declaration that a new ruler had arrived, a monster everyone had to reckon with. Though he was never known for technical finesse, Khali understood his value. He didn't need high-flying moves or constant rope running. Simply standing in the ring was enough to create an overwhelming presence. His battles with John Cena, Big Show, and Triple H maximized his untouchable giant persona, turning each encounter into a true David versus Goliath spectacle. Toward the end of his career, Khali shifted toward a more entertainment-focused role, taking part in comedic segments and helping mentor younger talent. Still, the sight of him towering over the ring, dwarfing everyone in the arena, remains an unforgettable image. Love him or hate him, the Great Khali will forever be remembered as one of the most imposing mountains ever to step foot in WWE. Big Show, the giant with a mischievous smile. Big Show, or Big Paul, as many fans affectionately call him, is one of the most successful and enduring giants in wrestling history. Towering over most opponents, with fists nearly the size of a horse's head and a sly, almost mysterious grin, he manages to be both intimidating and oddly magnetic at the same time. His career took off in WCW, where he was introduced with the kayfabe backstory of being the son of the legendary Andre the Giant, seeking revenge for his father's loss to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. In his very first pay-per-view appearance, at just 23 years old, this massive newcomer captured the WCW World Championship, making the entire wrestling world take notice. He was also one of the rare members of the ill-fated Dungeon of Doom faction to emerge with his reputation intact, a feat not everyone in that group could claim. During his WCW run as the Giant, he bounced between joining and leaving the NWO, at times playing the massive muscle for the black and white heel faction, and at others portraying the hero fighting for justice. In 1999, at the age of 27, he left WCW and signed with WWE, adopting the name The Big Show, a choice that still baffles fans to this day. Once again, he was immediately pushed to the top, and just months later at Survivor Series, he won the WWF Championship. Throughout his WWE career, Big Show became notorious for turning heel and face at lightning speed, often leaving fans struggling to keep up. While this unpredictability added shock value, it sometimes undercut his aura of dominance. Still, his achievements are remarkable. He's the only man to have held the WCW World Title, WWE Championship, World Heavyweight Championship, and ECW World Title. Outside the ring, Big Show ventured into entertainment, including a memorable role in the Christmas comedy jingle All the Way, proving the Giant wasn't just about brute force, he could also deliver laughs. Yokozuna, the Samoan sumo who struck fear. A sumo champion from Samoa. Yokozuna's name is etched deep into WWF history during the early 90s, when wrestling was shifting from the colorful rock and wrestling era into the experimental new generation era. At the time, WWF was still reeling from the steroid scandal. Vince McMahon needed dominant stars who didn't fit the pumped full of roids look of the previous generation. His solution came in two forms: naturally built, technically skilled wrestlers like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and massive, mountain-like monsters. Yokozuna was the perfect embodiment of the latter. Debuting in late 1992, he made an immediate impact with his colossal frame, cold demeanor, and crushing style. Just months later, he won the 1993 Royal Rumble, then defeated Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9 to claim the WWF Championship. To go from complete unknown to world champion in under half a year was a meteoric rise matched by only a few, like Brock Lesnar or Sheamus. Yokozuna was built on the classic, unbeatable monster formula. Whenever he stepped into the ring, fans knew someone was going to be flattened by the bonsai drop, a finisher that was as brutal as it was iconic. To cement this image, WWF staged a special event, the Body Slam Challenge aboard the USS Intrepid on July 4, 1993. One by one, athletes, wrestlers, and celebrities tried to slam Yokozuna, but all failed, until, made in the USA, Lex Luger stepped up, hoisting the Giant off his feet in a moment that exploded with American pride. With his staggering weight and surprisingly agile movement for a man his size, Yokozuna was more than just a champion. He was proof that power and presence could be showcased in many forms. He remains a lasting image in WWF history, a moving mountain who was as awe-inspiring as he was terrifying, and who could make opponents break a sweat before the opening bell even rang. Vader, the Giant Nightmare. Picture an enraged hippo, each step shaking the ground. Now imagine that hippo charging forward and landing a punch so powerful it sends your entire body reeling. And just when you think he's all brute force, he suddenly launches into a perfect backflip moonsault. That's Vader, the mastodon of professional wrestling, a phenomenon who was impossibly massive, fast, and ferocious all at once. Vader wasn't your typical, big, slow guy. He was the perfect fusion of a genuine monster and a powerhouse hoss, yet he moved with the agility of a cruiserweight. Before arriving in WWF, he was already a dominant force in WCW and Japan. In New Japan Pro Wrestling, he faced the godfather of strong style, Antonio Inoki, in a match so intense it triggered a full-on riot inside Sumo Hall. Thousands of shocked fans couldn't believe their national hero had been dismantled in minutes. Standing 6 feet 5 inches and weighing 450 pounds, every step Vader took felt like a warning. He had a reputation as a stiff worker, meaning his strikes landed with the force of a sledgehammer, painfully real to both his opponents and the crowd watching. Vader's golden era came in WCW in the early 90s, defined by brutal wars with Cactus Jack, where tables, blood, and bone-crunching impacts were part of the spectacle. He even legitimately injured Sting with his Vader bomb, a reminder that in Vader's world, the line between showmanship and danger was razor-thin. A three-time WCW World Champion, he became the company's top monster when Hulk Hogan arrived, turning their clashes into must-see main events. His WWF run never reached the same heights. Despite getting a shot at the WWF Championship against Shawn Michaels, he slipped into a string of high-profile losses, culminating in being beaten by Kane and bitterly calling himself a big fat piece of crap. Still, the image of a flying mountain remains etched in wrestling history, a man who could make opponents tremble and fans stare in awe. Kane, the Fireborn Destroyer. Be honest, have you ever actually felt a chill when someone mentioned Kane? Looking at you, Zack Ryder. Kane's debut came during the legendary Hell in a Cell match at In Your House, Bad Blood. The steel door tore open, and out of the darkness stepped what looked like a twisted version of the Undertaker, only larger, meaner, and more terrifying. For one frozen moment, the entire arena held its breath, as if they were staring at something ripped straight from a nightmare. Kane was the closest WWE ever came to having its own Jason Voorhees. Huge, muscular, with one dead white eye and a cold glare that could make anyone step back. His face was hidden behind a chilling red and black mask, his voice distorted through a modulator, and his threats always hell-themed: A. Burn you alive, B. Smash you with a wrench, or C. Do both at the same time. For fans of the Attitude Era, his brutality wasn't just frightening, it was mesmerizing. Less than a year after his debut, Kane carved his name into history. In the first blood match against Stone Cold Steve Austin, he captured the WWF Championship. The irony. Austin was wrestling shirtless while Kane was covered head to toe except for one hand, giving him a built-in advantage that fit perfectly with his mysterious persona. Kane's career was a roller coaster of wild twists. From bizarre alliances like teaming with DX, to controversial storylines like the infamous Katie Vick angle, to the unmasking that revealed his unhinged side, every change created moments that had fans talking for years. No matter the phase, Kane was always booked as a dangerous contender, a constant threat to any champion. Kane wasn't just a monster in terms of raw power. He became a symbol of fear and psychological dominance, a red and black specter haunting the ring, ready to burn away an opponent's hopes with nothing more than a cold, unblinking stare. Bruiser Brody, the untamable wild man. They say the greatest wrestling personas are born when the line between reality and the script disappears, when the person in the ring is simply their true self, amplified to the extreme. By that standard, Bruiser Brody stands as one of the most fearsome figures the sport has ever known. Standing nearly 6 feet 6 inches, with long tangled hair like he just walked out of the Stone Age, and wild eyes that looked ready to crush anyone in his path, Brody was the embodiment of primal chaos. The way he moved, the way he swung a rusty steel chain as a warning, it all told opponents the same thing. Angering Bruiser Brody was as good as signing your own death warrant. Without Brody, hardcore wrestling might never have evolved into the violent, unpredictable spectacle we know today. He was a master at blurring the line between performance and a real fight, hurling chairs, smashing barricades, using any hard object within reach. Opponents, tag partners, even fans in the front row could become victims of the storm that was Brody. What made him even more intimidating was his unwavering commitment to protecting his character. Brody almost never agreed to lose, and in the ring, he made sure to be seen as an unstoppable force. His most infamous example came in a steel cage match with Lex Luger in 1987. Midway through, Brody simply stopped selling any moves, standing still and staring down his opponent. Luger froze in confusion, the crowd went silent, and referee Bill Alfonso had to find a way to end the match early before it spiraled out of control. Bruiser Brody wasn't just a wrestler, he was a walking nightmare, an icon of pure, uncontrollable violence that no script could ever truly contain. In the ring, he wasn't acting, he was living up to the name Bruiser the world had given him. Andre the Giant, the eighth wonder of the world. The word legend gets thrown around a lot in wrestling, but a rare few make it feel truly earned, and Andre the Giant was one of them. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was a cultural phenomenon, a living wonder that people would pay to see in person at least once in their lives. Towering over 7 feet tall and weighing more than 500 pounds, André made wrestling rings look small and his opponents seem like toys in his hands. Fans would buy tickets just to watch him walk to the ring, and for 14 straight years in WWF, his undefeated streak became the stuff of myth. In his younger years, André stunned audiences with surprising agility for his size, even hitting dropkicks that brought crowds to their feet. But promoter Vince McMahon Sr. saw another path, reinventing him as an immovable giant with a slow, deliberate style that used sheer presence as a weapon. This shift not only cemented André as an icon, but also made him one of the most beloved babyfaces of the 1970s. Although he was closely associated with heroism, the moment that etched André into wrestling history came when he turned heel, challenging Hulk Hogan before WrestleMania 3. When André calmly tore Hogan's shirt and ripped the crucifix from his neck, no threats were needed, the arena froze in shock, and Hogan's face said it all. That night, Gorilla Monsoon's immortal call, "The irresistible force meets the immovable object," forever framed their clash as a historic event. After that peak, André's in-ring work slowed due to health issues, though he still made his mark, winning the Tag Team Championship alongside Haku as part of the Colossal Connection. In 1992, he officially retired, ending the career of a giant like no other. In 1993, the world lost its eighth wonder, but the image of André the Giant lives on, not just as one of the greatest wrestlers ever, but as proof that sometimes, simply existing is enough to make you immortal. The Undertaker, WWE's immortal phantom. Imagine trying to explain professional wrestling to an alien. It already sounds strange. Then you add that one of the greatest icons in history is a 6 feet 10 inches figure who's part zombie, part dark cult leader, sometimes a biker, can summon lightning out of thin air, and vanish in an instant. At that point, the alien might think you're telling a ghost story. But no, that's The Undertaker. Debuting at Survivor Series 1990, Taker appeared with long dark red hair, a blank stare, and the slow, deliberate walk of someone straight out of a graveyard. Many assumed he'd be another short-lived monster, who'd lose to Hulk Hogan and disappear like so many bizarre gimmicks before him. Instead, The Undertaker didn't just survive, he became immortal. For nearly 3 decades, the Phenom stayed true to his character while constantly reinventing himself, the cold, dead man, the sinister Lord of Darkness, and the rebellious American badass. He held the WWE Championship 4 times, the World Heavyweight title 3 times, and, most famously, built a legendary WrestleMania winning streak, turning a victory over him into one of wrestling's greatest honors. His rivalries with Kane, Mankind, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Stone Cold are burned into fans' memories. During the Attitude Era, as leader of the Ministry of Darkness, Taker pushed the limits of televised shock, at one point staging an on-screen crucifixion of another wrestler, leaving audiences both thrilled and unsettled. What truly made Taker special wasn't just his accolades, but the atmosphere he created. The moment that bell tolled and white smoke filled the entrance, arenas would fall silent. The second he sat up after seeming beaten, the crowd would erupt. The Undertaker wasn't merely a character. He was a living legend, a symbol of endurance, and perhaps the greatest monster WWE has ever known. Umaga, WWE's Samoan Storm. If WWE could embody a tropical cyclone, it would be named Umaga. From the moment he arrived in 2006, the Samoan bulldozer spread fear across every corner of the ring. No greetings, no flashy promos, just a wild glare and a thunderous roar that made it clear, this was no man who played fair. Weighing over 350 pounds yet moving like a hunting leopard, Umaga blended raw power with surprising agility. When he crashed into the turnbuckle with a crushing splash or unleashed his deadly Samoan spike, the entire arena would hold its breath, waiting for the bell to end it. He didn't need a microphone to tell a story. His was the tale of a primal warrior, driven purely by instinct, fighting as if nothing could stop him. WWE built Umaga as an unstoppable force. 4 months, he bulldozed through legends like Ric Flair, giants like Kane, and technical masters like Shawn Michaels. Each win wasn't just a victory, it was a warning. Stay away if you value walking out in one piece. His peak came at Royal Rumble 2007 against John Cena in a brutal last-man-standing match, a showcase of destruction where he proved not just his raw strength but his incredible resilience. Even in defeat, the image of Umaga relentlessly attacking until his final breath stayed with fans. More than just a powerhouse, Umaga was proof WWE could still create a pure monster heel. No speeches, no comedy, only unfiltered brutality and menace. He was the embodiment of primal fear, of violence without reason, and every appearance felt like a wild beast had just broken free. In WWE history, few have maintained such an aura of danger. Umaga wasn't just a wrestler, he was a living nightmare, a true monster of the modern era. Big Daddy V, the Giant of Chaos. The moment Big Daddy V stepped out from behind the curtain, the atmosphere in the arena shifted. Standing over 6 feet 8 inches and weighing close to 485 pounds, he was a moving fortress of pure muscle and raw strength. Covered in tattoos, with a massive bare chest and a glare that could devour an opponent, Big Daddy V was one of the most memorable monsters in WWE's modern era. He began his wrestling career under various personas, from Mabel to Viscera, but it wasn't until he became Big Daddy V that he reached peak intimidation. Under the guidance of Matt Striker, he was portrayed as a living weapon, limitless and merciless. Every step he took in the ring seemed to shake the ground, signaling the nightmare about to crash down on his opponents. Big Daddy V's in-ring style was the definition of a pure powerhouse. He didn't rely on speed or flashy technique, just brute force and body weight to crush everything in his path. His clotheslines looked like they could snap necks, his splashes in the middle of the ring made the audience wince from the sheer impact, and his sidewalk slam was enough to end almost any match. Often thrown into major storylines against stars like The Undertaker, Batista, and Kane, he wasn't just a roadblock, he was a test of survival. If you didn't find a quick way to take him down, you'd be flattened in the most literal sense. Though his prime in WWE wasn't long-lived, every appearance left a strong mark. He wasn't just a dangerous monster heel, he was the embodiment of raw, unpolished strength. With his massive frame, intimidating aura, and brutal style, Big Daddy V will always be remembered as a walking nightmare, someone who could silence an entire crowd just by standing there. Lars Sullivan, WWE's primal beast. From the moment he debuted, Lars Sullivan felt like a creature WWE had kept locked away for too long. Standing nearly 6 feet 3 inches and weighing over 300 pounds, with bulging muscles and a menacing face, Sullivan didn't just look like a monster. He radiated an aura that demanded caution. The cold stare, boulder-like shoulders, and slow, predatory walk told the crowd exactly what was coming, a storm of violence. Before stepping onto WWE's main roster, Sullivan was already a force of destruction in NXT. He didn't just beat opponents, he annihilated them. His signature finisher, the Freak Accident, looked like a head-on collision between a semi-truck and the human body. He didn't need to throw many moves, every slam and strike carried enough force to make the audience flinch. Sullivan's style blended overwhelming power with shocking agility for a man his size. He could hoist other heavyweights with ease, yet also leap from the ropes with surprising accuracy. That contrast made him a nightmare to prepare for, too strong to overpower, yet too quick to avoid for long. When promoted to the main roster, WWE branded him as the Freak, a human wrecking machine. His sudden, brutal attacks that dismantled opponents in minutes cemented that image. While his time on the big stage was short, it was enough to place him among the most intimidating powerhouses to ever set foot in WWE. Lars Sullivan proved that sometimes, presence alone is enough to be a threat. No flashy promos, no gimmicks, just a pure destroyer, born to unleash chaos and fear on any ring he entered. Those were the 15 monsters who defined power and dominance in WWE. If you want to keep diving into the dramatic world of wrestling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick with Wrestling Sphere so you won't miss any legendary stories.